What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, this last weekend was the Toronto Regionals for the AGOV season, and I played Ojamas. Ojama with ABC, with Adventures, and with Horus cards. I took inspiration from a deck that got, 7-1 at the YCS in Japan in Nagoya, and I kind of took it a little bit differently, but I'll explain that to you guys in a second. And before I continue, shoutouts to tsx1.com. Use the code POTATO10 for 10% off on your sleeves and mats. I believe he's getting a nice restock in a couple days, so make sure to go check that out. So let me show you guys what I played. Okay, so this is what my deck looked like. This is 60 cards, and there are a lot of different moving pieces here, so hopefully I can tie this all together for you guys. Now, one thing to note is I was in a rush building this deck, so I did not get a chance to finish my side deck out, and that's why I have 3 Blue-Eyed Shining Dragons in there. I figured it'd be fun just to have those in, but obviously the side deck did not get completed. And there were a couple of things I would change from after the tournament, and I'll explain as I go through the deck. Now, I know it says top 8 question mark in the thumbnail. I did not get top 8. I unfortunately went 3-3, but the deck didn't feel that bad. I feel like I had 2 really bad matchups that I lost to, and then, some bricks, which, happens with this type of deck in the other round. But the deck felt okay, and I felt like it was absolutely worth, sharing with you guys. But Sam recommended I do this, clickbait, so hope it didn't turn too many of you guys away. Anyways, yeah, so why Ojama with ABC cards is probably the biggest question. If you're not familiar with any of the newer Ojama support, I say newer because they're not that new, but, not the original wave. Ojama Blue says, when destroyed by battle into the grave, you can add 2 Ojamas from deck to your hand, 2 Ojama cards. You can add 2 of the spells, and that's super important because you typically want to be adding Ojama Match, or Oja Match. You send a face-up Ojama or one from your hand to the grave, and then add any Ojama with a different name and 1 Arm Dragon from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then immediately you can normal summon one of the monsters. So you can normal the blue, and if it's the battle phase, you can keep attacking and crashing to search. You can also banish it in the grave, try 3 banished Ojamas, shuffle them and draw a card, and that comes up later for the other spell. This is great because you crash blue, you can add Oja Match and Oja Magic, use Oja Match, discarding Oja Magic. Get them to the blue, normal summon it again, resolve the magic to add 1, 2, 3, crash it and get 2 more spells, and then you're looking at the next card. Now, the YCS Japan deck list did play multiple Dark Arm Dragons, because he wanted to resolve this Oja Match multiple times to loop the blues, but I felt like after I did 1 loop, I did not need to keep doing it, and I'd rather not have played multiple Dark Arm Dragons in my deck, because if you'll notice, I am rather devoid of dark monsters. It's really just, a couple here. But yeah, so that's kind of the point. You get the Dark Arm Dragon and the blues, and you just get multiple Ojama searches, which is really good. And the next spell you typically want to be searching is Oja Assimilation. This card is just nuts. And that is, you can reveal Life Fusion in your extra deck and match a number of Ojama monsters from your hand, field, and or grave, and special summon fusion materials with different names listed on it. From your hand, deck, and or grave, equal the number of monsters banished. This one as well, you can banish and grave check 3 of your banished Ojamas, shuffle them into the deck, and draw a card. Now, there's one other Ojama card you could play, and that is Ojama Pajama. I didn't play it, although the YCS Japan guy did play it. I felt like it was a brick because what it does when sent to the grave is summons as many of your banished Ojamas as possible, but I feel like being able to just cycle them back for the draw is better anyways, without playing an extra brick on the deck, because this deck has a lot of bricks. So you can pretty much hear what you summon as ABC pieces. So if you can see how this bridges the ABC cards together, it's like a very Chaz theme, right? Like it's finding a way to bridge all of Chaz's Arm Dragon theme with the Ojamas and the ABCs. I wish the Arm Dragons had a little bit more synergy and not just, dead bricks you have to search. This is the closest thing to being a playable card because you play 4 darks and then a couple in the extra deck, although it's not good. With King's Sarcophagus, you can send 3 Imsetis and that turns it on. I guess. Which you do, right? Because, you want to put you'll Oja Magic resolve and you'll dump these in the grave with King's Sark, turn on the Dark Armed, and then you can use your Ojama Assimilation. So it is definitely possible. And then you got the ABC pieces here, which you can make some link plays with, and then back it up with a Buster Dragon. Now the way this deck is designed is to go second because you want to be able to abuse this blue crashing in. If you don't draw it, it's fine. And it's also good because your turn 1 interrupts are rather lacking, but here you get to capitalize on a bunch of go second cards. You see other board breakers like Econ, Droplet, Lightning Storm, Duster, Super Poly, Thrust, Talents on the main deck. There's Fenrir, Pinkertops as well. To really make going second good. Because the game plan here is to go second and use the board breakers to clear the field. And then your engines will, help clear the field. And then you end on 1 or 2 interrupts. So you put them down 0 cards. And then, you know, set like a Buster plus an Appaloosa and an SP and say that's all. That's a day. And usually that is pretty good. Unfortunately, isn't very good against Flu, which is what I played on lost to one of the rounds. It's actually really, really rough because while you can break the field, the follow-up is rather hard to deal with. I don't have any good interactions because they'll be able to chain block the Appaloosa with their banished Flu monsters. So it's almost, you know, not helpful for me to go second against that deck. Unless I can kill them. And that's not always something you can do. So that was a rough matchup of mine that I didn't really account for, where if you don't draw a draw, it's actually kind of rough. And yeah, otherwise the game plan is pretty good. Like you play versus Rescue Ace or any others standard type of mid-range decks that are very popular right now. You try and blow them out with these spell cards, and then, you know, supplemented with some Ojama cards. You actually can get the job done. Now, all the one-ifs here are cards you typically don't want to draw. One of the reasons I lost one of my games is I had a really strong setup when I was ready to kill, and then I drew for turn Ojama Green. Unfortunately, Ojama Magic has to add all of them from deck to hand, so with Ojama Green I couldn't resolve the magic and kind of screwed me. And unfortunately, there's no way to mitigate that because you'd have to play 2 of each of them, you know, not have that many, and we really need to be careful not to overdo the bricks here because there are a number of cards that you do not want to draw. You really want to couple together like 3 or 4 going second cards, like 1 engine card, and then you can have some bricks in your hand that make it okay. Obviously, you should expect to draw some bricks. If you are expecting to draw 6 playable cards in this deck, you are crazy because there are a lot of bad cards. But luckily, the cards that are good are powerful enough that it's alright. And now, I'm also playing Union Driver and 3 Union Hangers. This is something that wasn't being played in the YCS Japan deck list. I felt like going second Union Hanger would be very good. Because Union Hanger would, you know, be 1-card combos with the ABC pieces if you play Union Driver, and then also make Dweller. Unfortunately, I left my Dweller at home, so I couldn't play the Dweller. I would include it because it does help when one of your other bad matchups just tier. Again, because the shufflers are really hard and they have a lot of value. If you have Dweller, though, you can, you know, make Dweller with the Union Hanger, and that turns off the shufflers, and then you can actually play the game. I didn't do that because I forgot it, and it would have helped me a lot. I lost against tier. Yeah, that helps with that, and then just helps you extend. Also, I figured with already playing Thrust for Breakers, it turns Thrust into Engine a little bit better because you can Thrust for Terraforming and Union Hanger. Obviously, if you have Ojama cards, you'd rather just get Oja Assimilation off of Thrust, but you don't always have Ojama cards. And if you don't have either Oja Magic or Assimilation, then yeah, you want something else. Although obviously, if you have already like a Rite of Ramus here, you can add Oja Magic instead, and that turns it all on. Get your Ojama engine rolling. There are several ways to do that. Another key focus of this deck is trying to resolve this Ojama Assimilation, because interestingly, with the Link Spiders in your deck, you can actually turn the Ojamas into something meaningful, where you can start making like Phoenix and Unicorn or Appaloosa or SP. You know, start cycling cards with the Nightmares or just SP for removal is rather solid. With Link Spider, it's actually not that hard to get these out of your hand, so it doesn't feel that bad. But yeah, either way, you want a lot of discard cards to, you know, take advantage of how good Oja Magic is in those scenarios. That's why you have the Imsetis, the Gold Sarks, the Rights, and, you know, Thrust can get right as well. So you should almost always be able to trigger Oja Magic when you draw it. And, you know, the times you can't trigger it is because you have this nonsense in your hand, which unfortunately happens. Drop it as well as another synergy piece with Oja Magic. So it's super poly. A lot of ways to use these free discards. And then what's cool as well with Rite of Ramus here is after you've used up, you know, the stuff, the illegal land, the Draco back type of bounces, you can turn it into a Link Spider to summon the Ojamas out of your hand. So that way you can still use your normal summon on a Union Hanger type of combo. And then often means that even when you don't get a blue combo off, you can still very much access both of your engines rather easily and push through fields and end on this type of like Appaloosa SP Buster Dragon field. It's not hard at all. The Horus cards, again, are good going second because they just put up level 8s that can threaten Dingirsu. And also just big monsters, right? They're big monsters that if they remove anything from the field, you get good effects. And they also high attack points. So yeah, I mean, these we roll solid. And then obviously this also gives them a Catastrophe-esque effect that when a Horus monster battles, you send the monster to the grave. So anything really threatening, you know, this does immediately force out. Now, I didn't play all the Horus monsters like the YCS Japan person did just because I didn't want to have too many bricks. I sided them because I wanted to try them out. And in theory, decks that didn't have back removal, this would have been great against. So I did side them in against like Race. However, every time I sided them in, I would not draw the Kasark, and then I draw these. So that was unfortunate. But it's something I was experimenting, and it's weird, right? Because they obviously are very powerful, but it's a fine balance you have to keep in mind of too many bricks in the deck. And adventure cards are similar, right? I didn't put Wandering Griffin in the deck, neither did the YCS Japan person, just because obviously it's another brick, and you're going for legal line most of the time anyways. It's better going second. And I'm not sure if that's correct. Griffin may have been helpful against some of the worst matchups like Flu, where I don't have good negates. And maybe it has to change. But again, you have to be careful not to add too many bricks. Utility is helpful, but so is consistency. You need to make sure that it's consistent. But otherwise, the adventure cards are really good. Obviously, Japan has just doesn't have Griffin actually, so maybe that's why they didn't play it. I'm pretty sure it's banned there still. They've been easing up on the restrictions for these cards in Japan, but for a while they had them hit and we didn't. But these cards are very good. It actually surprised me how good the horse and the adventure cards paired together, and that with the board breakers honestly would carry games by itself when it didn't draw either Ojamas or ABCs. Like I drew a Fenrir plus a Lightning Storm plus like a Wright plus an M-City. It actually felt like really good, like surprisingly, and it was just a lot of pressure for my opponents to deal with. And like it makes me wonder if you just cut out the Ojama and the ABC cards and the bricks. Maybe that could be something by itself as well. So maybe that's something to explore. So that should explain pretty much the whole main deck and all the choices there. The one plan here is that I can thrust for terraforming to switch up if I already have my engines. And then everything else is just board breakers I felt were appropriate. There are other board breakers you could play like Dark Ruler, Sphere Mode. You can main deck the Evenlies. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to approach things. I'm still I didn't get a chance to play this deck at all before the tournament, so I wasn't sure which board breakers would complement my deck the best, which is why I went for the more discard cards. I do kind of wish there were Dark Rulers, and then Sphere Mode would have been good against Tier as well, because the deck goes really wide, and I was missing those. The side deck, you have to really ignore. The only real cards are like the Droll and the Evenly. Evenly, I don't think I ever drew, because it's good versus these backward decks. They don't have good answers, like Rescue Ace, especially if they play Super Poly, they're going to be a lot more hesitant to make the Bear and SP board. And then Droll for like Flu, Vanadium, these other type of combo decks that are super aggressive. As for the extra deck, though, a couple things could have changed. Cross Sheep, isn't really important. Cerberus is a card you can play as well to cycle some draws by putting it under Link Spider, but I decided with Unicorn and SP I didn't need it. I'd also consider a second SP here with all the links and fusions you're able to summon. It's very possible you want a second SP. I did once it twice. I also never even came close to summoning Dingirsu. These bodies represented so much pressure anyways, I felt I'd rather just leave it up. If I did want to do something with them, I'd rather just make SP, typically. I'd leave up the Happy, and I'd link this away, plus like a Link Spider usually I had, made SP, and then I'd be like, fine. Like I ended on a couple times, I ended like SP, Fenrir, and a Happy. That felt okay, right? Because I still had Interrupts, I cleared their field, so they were top decking into that, and I still had pressure with the Sark up, and obviously if they did anything to my monsters, Happy would trigger, add back 2 cards, then just lose. So yeah, those type of game spots is also if you want a second SP, right? Because if they kill your SP, you want a way to keep dealing with monsters. Otherwise, things felt good. 3 King Sarks because, it's inconsistent to play just these. And yes, it's less value to hard draw this one, but honestly, these cards were good enough that it was fine. My deck has enough good discards as well that it's, all right. Otherwise, this deck felt surprisingly solid. Again, the record that I had may have not, showed that it was decent, but the matches I won were all 2-0. I think, actually, no, I did lose one game in one of the matches I won because I put my opponent down to nothing besides Mannequin Cat, and then I Ojama Assimilation, so I'm pretty sure I win. And then Mannequin Cat summoned to Christia, and I'm like, damn, did not expect that. I did not play around that, and then I lost that. And because of the time in the round and my next go second deck, I decided to just concede fast instead of playing it out because he couldn't play either. So I could have said maybe just sit on the ABC pieces and maybe draw a Lightning Storm or a Droplet and then eventually out it. But I figured I'd have a higher chance to go to game 2, go second quickly, and then just try and win naturally, which I did. So who knows? I would have been able to beat Christia. At the given I couldn't, but obviously he can't play under his own Christia either. The deck is actually rather solid. So again, I want to give that shout out to the YC Japan player who gave me inspiration for this. I did change quite a bit up. But I feel like this deck is fun. It's not bad, and I urge you guys to give it a try. And as far as Ojama goes, this type of direction is absolutely the way to go. If you want to see me to keep trying to work on this, maybe play it another regional after I give it some more enhancements after my first experience, then let me know, because I'd be happy to do that. This deck is cool. Ojamas is one of my favorite jank decks, and to make it work would be awesome. So yeah, I'd appreciate any of you guys' feedback. And if you enjoy this type of video, again, just leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. That's all for now, guys. Peace.